Today we're very excited to have with us Nick Bruel, author and illustrator of the Bad Kitty series. Nick will tell us a little bit about his book. We're going to do a little read-along, and then we can answer any of your questions and sign your books after. And parents, if you parked in our back lot, we'll be happy to validate your parking. And now please join me in welcoming Nick Bruel.
Thank you very, very much. There we go. Before I begin, before I say anything else, I need to say congratulations to all of you, because you are sitting inside a bookstore. That is not an achievement that should go unrecognized, because there are fewer and fewer of these places in this country than there used to be. You happen to be sitting in a particularly good one, so cherish what you have. I've worked in 3 different bookstores in my career, and 2 of them are gone. So support this place as much as you can. And on that somber note, thank you for coming out tonight. This is what I think we'll do. I'm going to read to you from Bad Kitty Scaredy-Cat. If you have a copy, you can read along. After that, I'm going to do a little drawing, and after that, I think I'm going to answer any questions that you guys may have. Sound like a plan? Yeah, that's what we'll do. Now, before I actually read to you from the book, I should give you a little background to why this book exists. This is, believe it or not, after all this time, only the 4th Bad Kitty picture book. I have all these chapter books. There are 9 of them so far, and the early readers. But of all the picture books, this is only number 4. The first Bad Kitty picture book was, of course, just the original Bad Kitty. And if you don't know it, it's a pretty simple story. It's about a cat who does not get the food she wants in alphabetical order. So she commits all of these acts of horrible mayhem in alphabetical order. She then gets the food she does want in alphabetical order, and then more or less makes amends in alphabetical order. Well, when the book came out 12 years ago, it did pretty well. Kids liked it. My publisher liked it. And if you don't know what a publisher is, I'll briefly explain that. All I do is write the words and draw the pictures. My publisher is the company that takes my words and my pictures and turns them into books that you can find inside a bookstore or your library. Anyway, my publisher, they called me in for a meeting. And they said to me, Nick Bruel, we like this Bad Kitty book. We think you should do another Bad Kitty book. And I said, I don't want to do another Bad Kitty book. And they said, how come you don't want to do another Bad Kitty book? And I said, because Bad Kitty goes through the alphabet 4 times. It is not as easy to find the right word for every letter of the alphabet, and especially if you have to do it 4 times. So I said to them, I, Nick Bruel, will never do another Bad Kitty book again. And they said, go home and think about it. That's what I did. You know, a funny thing happened when I got home. My wife had a friend who was visiting. My wife's friend had a little boy who was only about 2, maybe 3 years old. And when this little guy would toddle about the house, he'd sometimes trip, and he'd fall, and then he'd get upset. And my wife's friend would pick him up and console him in her arms by rocking back and forth, saying, poor puppy, poor puppy, poor puppy. Well, that rang a little bell in my head. It made me think, you know what, maybe I could do another book, but it wouldn't be just about that cat, it would also be about that dog living in that house with that cat, and I would call it Poor Puppy. And it would go through the alphabet 3 more times, and it came out about 10 years ago now. Kids liked it. My publisher liked it. They called me in for a meeting. They said, hey, Nick Bruel, we like this Bad Kitty book, we like this Poor Puppy book, we think you should still do another Bad Kitty book. And I said, I don't want to do another Bad Kitty book. And they said, how come you don't want to do another Bad Kitty book? And I said, because Bad Kitty goes through the alphabet 4 times, Poor Puppy 3 times. That's 7 alphabets. I'm all out of alphabets. I, Nick Bruel, will never do another Bad Kitty book again. And they said, go home and think about it. So, okay, I can do that. That's when it occurred to me. The problem wasn't with Kitty. The problem wasn't with Puppy. The problem was those accursed alphabets. What if I did a different kind of book altogether, a kind of book for older kids. It would be longer, it would be as much as 160 pages long and in chapters, and I could tell a longer, fuller story about these characters, and more importantly, it would have none of those alphabets, and that's what I did. The first one was Bad Kitty Gets a Bath, and then Happy Birthday Bad Kitty, and then Bad Kitty versus Uncle Murray, and so forth. My publisher calls me in for a meeting. They say, well, we like these chapter books, but we still want you to do another Bad Kitty picture book. And I said, I don't want to do another Bad Kitty picture book. And they said, how many want to do? Alphabets! I, Nick Bruel, will never do another Bad Kitty picture book again. And they said, go home, think about it. And I did. It might have been the time of year that inspired me. But I remembered that I like Christmas. I've always liked Christmas. Christmas is this cool idea, right? I mean, Christmas is this day that's not even your birthday, and people give you presents. Maybe your friends give you presents, your family give you presents, even Santa gives you presents. And I like Christmas because I like presents. So I thought maybe I could do another picture book. It would be about that cat and Christmas and presents. And because I am my own worst enemy, it would go through the alphabets 5 times, and it would rhyme. I called it a Bad Kitty Christmas. It came out. It did well. Kids liked it. My publisher liked it. They called me in for a meeting. They said, yeah, Nick Bruel, we like this Bad Kitty Christmas book. We still want you to do another Bad Kitty picture book. And I said, there is nothing you could ever possibly do or say that could compel me in a million years to ever do another Bad Kitty picture book. And then they said, go home. That's what I did. And I'm glad I did, because when I thought about it, I realized, you know what? I like Christmas, but I love Halloween. Because I like presents, but I love candy. I'm going to tell the kids in this room a little something that no grown-up has ever said to you before. I'm going to get in a little trouble for it, too. When you become a grown-up yourself, when you are all grown up and you finish high school and you finish college and maybe you're living out on your own and you're an adult and you have a job, you're supporting yourself, you get to eat all the candy you want. That doesn't mean you should, but the option is there, and trust me, I'm still not over it. So I thought I would do a book about Kitty and Halloween and candy, and that's what I'm going to read to you now. Now on the very first page of this book, and I'll try to hold it to the audience, we see Kitty sleeping, resting peacefully inside her bed amidst the mayhem she has wrought. When we turn the page, we see that Puppy has entered the room and the story begins. She wasn't always a scaredy cat. Woof! She used to be A, an angry kitty. B, a brave kitty. C, a clumsy kitty. D, a daring kitty. An energetic kitty. A fearless kitty. A gallant kitty. A heroic kitty. Bonk, an inept kitty. A jumbled kitty. A kittenish kitty. Meow. A loopy kitty. Honk. A muddled kitty. Woof. A numb kitty. An outraged kitty. A powerful kitty. A quick kitty. A resolute kitty. A strong kitty. A tough kitty. An upended kitty. A vexed kitty. A wet kitty. An exasperated kitty. A youthful kitty. And a zestful kitty. But then, one dark and foggy night, something terrible happened. Ding dong! Out of the darkness and into her doorway appeared the most horrible and frightening creatures Kitty had ever seen. Trick or treat. She saw A, an awful alien. B, a bizarre Bigfoot. C, a creepy clown. D, a dreadful dragon. Does Kitty look happy here? No. Evil ectoplasm. A frightful Frankenstein. A ghastly goblin. A hideous hag. Does Kitty look happy here? No. An intimidating invisible man. A jarring jack-o'-lantern. A killer kraken. A loathsome lion. Does Kitty look happy here? No. A monstrous mummy. A noisy Neanderthal. An odious ogre. A putrid pirate. Does Kitty look happy here? No, she does not. A quirky Quasimodo, a rusty robot, a scary skeleton, a toxic tarantula. Does Kitty look happy here? No. Uncle Murray! Hi, I ran out of candy. Can I borrow some? A vile vampire, a wicked werewolf, an extremely exotic X-ray creature. Does Kitty look happy here? A yucky yeti and a zany zombie. That's how she became a scaredy cat. That's how she became just a very, very scared little kitty. Poor kitty. Poor kitty. But then, oops, I dropped my candy. That's when she saw it. She saw A, apples, B, bubblegum, C, candy corn, D, dried fruit, English toffee, fudge, gumdrops, hard candy, Italian truffles, jelly beans, kiwi fruit, lollipops, marshmallows, necklaces, oranges, pretzels, quince candy, raisins, strawberry licorice, taffy, unsalted nuts, vanilla cookies, white chocolate, wax lips, yellow bananas, and zoo animal crackers. Does Kitty look happy now? Yes, she does. Kitty decided there and then that she would not be a scared little kitty anymore. She decided she would be a bad kitty. But not just any bad kitty, but a very, very bad kitty. She, A, attacked the alien. B, battered Bigfoot. C, clobbered the clown. Demolished the dragon. Eradicated the ectoplasm. Flattened Frankenstein, gnawed on the goblin, harassed the hag, injured the invisible man, jostled the jack-o'-lantern, kicked the kraken, lambasted the lion, mauled the mummy, nullified the Neanderthal, overturned the ogre, pinched the pirate, quashed Quasimodo, ruined the robot, smashed the skeleton, tackled the tarantula, upset Uncle Murray, vanquished the vampire, whacked the werewolf, extinguished the X-ray creature, yanked the yeti, and zinged the zombie. Hooray for Kitty! All by herself, Kitty managed to chase those horrible creatures back out into the night. Kitty decided there and then that she would never be a scaredy cat again. Woof! Never. The end. Thank you. I'll do a little drawing for you. And I think to make this happen, I'll move the easel a little closer. This way everybody can see. Gee, I wonder what I'm gonna draw. But you know what? I guess the obvious choice is to draw Bad Kitty, but let's make it a little more interesting. I am gonna draw Bad Kitty, but while doing so, I'm gonna show you the hardest part. I'm going to show you the biggest challenge I face each and every single time I have to draw this character. And that is giving her feelings, emotions. Because feelings and emotions are really important in stories. Every character in every story, in this store, in every book you've ever read, you're ever going to read, they all need feelings and emotions to seem real. But here's the thing. I've got a problem. Oops. It's kind of a big problem. My problem is that I created a character who does not talk. Kitty does not talk. So because she does not talk, she can't just tell you what she's thinking. She can't just tell you what she's feeling. The only way to know what Kitty is thinking or what she's feeling is by seeing the expressions on her face. That's my challenge, and I'm going to show you how I approach this problem each and every single time. Now, in order to do this, I have to draw Kitty herself. So, when I'm drawing Kitty, I always start in the middle of her head with that part of the body called the elbow. Wait, you're right, you said no, you're right. Below her nose, I draw her mouth. Above her nose, I'm going to draw these two circles. And these circles are going to be her gallbladder. Who said eyes? You were right, I'm sorry. Above her eyes, I'm going to draw these four hairy needles. My research shows that all cats have 2 ears. So I always give her 2 ears, if only for the sake of scientific authenticity. These whiskery deals below. The middle one's always a little longer than the other two. And there's Kitty. But I'm not done yet. See, because I call this blank-faced Kitty. She doesn't really have an expression yet. You can't look at that face and know for sure what she's thinking. You can't look at that face and know for sure what she's feeling. That is about to change. Because with a single stroke of this marker, I'm going to turn this expressionless blank-faced Kitty into annoyed Kitty. This is going to happen quickly, so pay attention. Here we go. All right. No expression. Annoyed. In case you missed it the first time, no expression. Annoyed. No expression. Annoyed. Little details can make a really big difference in knowing where to put those details. Well, that's the hard part. So, to further illustrate this phenomenon, I'm going to do this 3 more times. Now, at the same time, I'm not going to draw her whole head. I'm just going to draw I'm not going to draw her hair and the ears and elbow, gallbladder, and all that. I'm just going to draw the important parts of her face, but I'm going to make her eyes a little bit bigger. I'll do this 3 times. How's the back of my head look at this? All right, here we go. So now I've got 3 kitty faces here. They're pretty much identical, right? They're pretty much the same. Clearly, something is still missing. By the time I'm done, this first one is going to be surprised Kitty. This one is going to be crazy Kitty. And this last one down here is going to be adorable Kitty. Here we go. So, first things first, surprise Kitty. 1, 2. It's easy, right? But check it out, 2 dots. And look at how much more alive that face suddenly becomes compared to the other 2. I love that part. Anyway, next, crazy Kitty. 1, 2. It's not so hard. Last but not least, adorable Kitty. 1, 2. I have 3 kitty faces. They used to be the same. They used to be pretty much identical. By the time I was done, the only difference between surprise, crazy, and adorable was where I put the dots for her eyes and how big I made them. These little details, these details that made such a big difference, they took me a lot of time to learn, a lot of practice. Remains, to this day, the hardest part of my job when I'm drawing this character. Raise your hand. raise your hand if you have a question that you would like to ask me. Right here in front of you.
What's your favorite bad kitty book?
The question was, what is my favorite Bad Kitty book? That is a terrific question. Unfortunately, I do not have a very satisfying answer for you, because I do not have a favorite Bad Kitty book. I can at least tell you why I don't, okay? I think of that question as being a lot like what would happen if you went up to somebody who had lots and lots of kids, and you asked that person, of all your children, which one is your favorite child? And that person would say to you, I don't have a favorite child. They're all special and unique to me for different reasons. They come to me with special and unique joys, special and unique challenges. And that is how I feel about my books. It's a good question. Who else has it? Right here in the middle, if you can be nice and loud for me.
When did you start becoming a writer?
When did I first start becoming a writer? There's kind of two ways for me to answer that question. I have at the time, and you seem like nice people, and I'm in a generous mood, so I think I'll answer it both ways. On one hand, my first book came out 13 years ago. It's called Boing. It was about a baby kangaroo learning how to go boing. And that was the first book I ever had published. But that's kind of not what you asked. You asked, when did I first become a writer? And here's the point. Just because you go through all the effort, you go through all the heartache and energy and thought to create a story or a book, and it doesn't happen to wind up on the shelves of a bookstore like this one or the shelves of a library, that doesn't mean it's not a book. Of course it's a book. It just hasn't been published. So the other way I can answer that question is that I have been a writer since I was writing stories when I was in first grade. Because when I was in first grade, there was honestly nothing I'd love to do more than to sit down at the table with a big blank sheet of paper in front of me with a pen, pencil, crayon, whatever I got little hands on, just start writing and drawing stories. So that's what I did. I was writing and drawing stories in first, then second, third, fourth. I remember being in fifth grade. Anyone in fifth grade here? When I was in fifth grade, when I was in fifth grade, I wrote a whole series of stories called The Adventures of the Invisible Family. The great thing, as it turns out, about writing and illustrating a series called The Adventures of the Invisible Family is that, as it turns out, an invisible family. It's very easy to draw. Mr. Invisible, or the father was invisible, was just shirt and pants and shoes. Mrs. Invisible was just a house dress. The dog was invisible, so all I had to do was draw a dog collar, float around midair. And I just kept writing and drawing stories in middle school, high school, college, and all those years after college. I've been doing it all my life. I do it because I love it. It just so happens I love it as much now as I did when I was even younger than you. Well, that's a question. Yes, right here.
What college did you go to draw? And yeah, what college did you go to draw?
What college I go to draw? I went to a small liberal arts college outside of Philadelphia called Haverford College. But here's the thing. I didn't go to that college to draw. I actually went to that college to take pre-med courses, which would have eventually qualified me to go into medical school, which would eventually qualify me for me to become a doctor. That did not work out. And they did not have much of an arts department, so I became an English major. And I did lots and lots of reading. But while I was there, I did have the opportunity, and I seized it, to have the weekly comic strip in the campus newspaper. And I probably learned as much writing and illustrating that comic strip every single week for 2 years while I was in college as I did anywhere inside the classrooms. To this day, because I never really had a formal arts training, and maybe that's pretty obvious from the sloppy doodles inside my books, I don't even think of myself, I think of myself, I should say, as a writer who uses both words and pictures to tell stories. Right there in the comfy seat. Do I have any cats? If you asked me this question about a year and a half ago, I would have said yes, I have one cat. But now I have two cats. and a dog. They are a fun trio to watch. Here's our cast of characters. We have the old cat, we have the new cat, and we have the dog. The old cat wants to eat the new cat because the old cat hates the new cat. The new cat is too much of a dope to realize that the old cat is trying to eat her because she every day, it just over and over, she wanders right into the same little bathroom where we keep the old cat's litter box and food bowl. That's her home base. It would be like if you wandered into Castle Dracula knowing that the place is infested with vampires. That she just doesn't think through. Okay, the old cat also hates the dog. The dog could not possibly care less. The fun is watching the new cat and the dog, because about once every 2 days or so, they really try to play. They try so hard. The only problem is they can't agree on what game to play, because the dog wants to play his favorite game, which is called Bitey Wrestle. And the cat just looks at that and goes, oh, no, that's just weird. No, so messy. The cat wants to play her favorite game, which is Swatty. And the dog goes, no, cut it out. Look at his eyes, come on, stop. And so about once every 2 days, they run into each other, they try to go Bitey Wrestle, Swatty, they get freaked out, and they kind of go their separate ways. But that's the story, the little menagerie I have at home, with the white jacket right there. How long did it take to write each book? It takes me a little less time now than when I first started. When I first started making these Bad Kitty books, and it took me roughly 9 months to write and illustrate these books. I mean, put this in perspective. Your school year begins roughly around the beginning of September, right? Ends roughly around the middle of June. That's the entire time you're in school this year. That's how much time it would take me to write and illustrate one of my books. Now it takes me a little less time because I've got the process a little more streamlined, a little more confident in what I'm doing. It takes me about 6 months. That's half a year. But still, yeah, it's an investment of time. Has to be done. Anyone else? Yes, with the leopard print. Why did I want to be a doctor? That's a very simple question with a very complicated response. The best way I could possibly say it to you is that I don't think I really did want to be a doctor. I think this was a decision that was made for me by people I lived with at home. And they had all the best intentions when they made these decisions for me. However, it was when I was in college and I realized those people are still at home that I realized, I can actually do something different. And this is I said this to myself as I was sitting and eating all the candy I wanted. So I was 2 years into college when I decided to be an English major. And I don't regret it for a second. I'm still hugely fond of science and medicine and such. I just didn't pursue it as my own particular career. Yes, right here. I can come back. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let me get, because I was pointing and then right to you, okay? So, yes, right there with the black shirt. You got a little something on your nose there. You know, when you look in the mirror, you know what I'm talking about. Yes. How much do I like writing the Bad Kitty books? I don't like writing the Bad Kitty books. I love writing the Bad Kitty books. And that's important because it really is fun for me. I did take a writing course once by a man named Denny O'Neil, who was a major figure in writing Batman comics in the 70s, and he gave to me a definition of a hack that I've never forgotten. A hack is somebody who pursues a creative career purely for the money. And I don't want to be that guy. I consider myself extraordinarily fortunate that I can make these books and people actually want to read them to such a degree that I can support my little family doing it. So yeah, I love these books. And if I ever stop making Bad Kitty books, it'll be because I stopped loving it, stopped being fun for me. I'm gonna come to you, but I did promise I'd go here. Yes? Say it again. Okay, good question. Where did I get the inspiration for all the characters, all the other characters in it? I always say characters are based on need. So for instance, in Bad Kitty's school days, she's going to school, so I needed a teacher character, right? I needed other students to be in that classroom. Another example would be Happy Birthday Bad Kitty, which was the first time I introduced all the other kitty characters. She was having a birthday party, so I needed to have guests come to the party. It was around that time that I was visiting classrooms and schools. And I thought, you know what? Why don't I find characters based on the kids I see inside the classrooms? So there's always one kid who's bigger than all the rest, and that kid would inspire Big Kitty. I see twins. My daughter's best friends are twins, and so they would inspire the twin kitties. Especially in kindergarten and first grade, there's always this little girl who goes to school in the big puffy dress and bangles and sparkles, and she would inspire, of course, Pretty Kitty. And then there's Strange Kitty. And Strange Kitty was me as a boy, because when I was your age, I was the kid who would bring a stack of comic books to our birthday parties just so I could, I sit in the corner and read comic books just in case I had no interest in whatever the kitty games were playing at the time, and I would be perfectly content. So of all the characters in the books, Strange Kitty's probably the one I identified with the most. I promise I'd come to you, that fabulous costume. I gotta get a picture of that later. What's your question for me, sir?
How hard is it to write the book?
How hard is it to write the books? I'm gonna turn the question around. This is for everyone in the room, but I guess in particular the kids. Raise your hand if you have ever written a book or a story of your own. Raise your hand if you've ever written a story or a book of your own. Okay, put them down again. Raise your hand again if it was hard work writing that book or that story of your own. Put them down again. Raise your hand one more time if it was fun writing that book, that story of your own. Thank you. There's your answer. Something can be hard work and fun at the same time, as everyone here demonstrated. I get up every morning and I struggle with every breath down the stairs into my little office where I sit and I write and I illustrate books for kids, like you. It is always hard work. It is always challenging. It is honestly sometimes even frustrating, but it's always really, really fun at the same time. Oh, I'm going to go for it. All the way in the back, be nice and loud for me. I turned 50 this year. That means I'm in a state of slow decay, which means I can't always hear what kids are saying, so I'll be really loud so I can
She
hear.
said, what did you write with?
Say it again?
She said, what do you write with?
What do I write with? What do I write with? Well, you know what? When I first come up with my ideas, I sit down and I just use the ballpoint pen and blank printer paper. And I just write. But I'm also sketching, because that's the funny thing. Remember I was saying that I think of myself as someone who, as a writer who uses both words and pictures? So I'm writing and sketching almost simultaneously. Because, as I said earlier, Kitty doesn't talk. So if I have a character talking to Kitty, I have to sketch how Kitty's going to react with her expressions. So just ballpoint pen. But eventually all of that has to be transferred to the computer, at which time becomes keyboard and computer. She has? I'm sorry. Go right ahead. What's your question for me? Say it again. When will Bad Kitty be president? Well, let's cross our fingers. Hope it really doesn't come to pass, I suppose. You know, honestly, I gotta reread that book, because someone had to remind me that near the end of Bad Kitty for President, she would not accept the results of the election. And it seems almost too prescient that would have happened when it did. That book, I designed it in such a way that it would go through the electoral process with such detail that it would require me to update it every 4 years, which is what I've been doing. If only because when I wrote the story about 6 years ago, for it to have come out about 5 years ago, the term super PAC wasn't common. So in the new edition, paperback, it is in there. Campaign donation numbers change every 4 years. I had to update that. I go into kind of pretty extensive nuance with that book in order to explain all the vocabulary that all of you kids are hearing right now. But rest assured, in about 2 Wednesdays, you won't be hearing about it much at all. With a striped shirt. Did she ask a question?
She forgot the question.
That's all right. I forget where I am.
We have it over.
Thank you. Yes.
What's your favorite character?
What's my favorite character? I think I mentioned that I really identify with Strange Kitty quite closely. But coming in a close second might be Uncle Murray, because it's funny, now that I've turned 50, I find myself identifying more and more with Uncle Murray and becoming more, I'm getting a little doughy and around the edges, just like him. And it also could be because as you grow older, you tend to reminisce about your youth. And I tend to reminisce about my own real life Uncle Murray, who was a pretty nice guy. I depict him as I remember him, which was kind of bald and doughy. And I'd visit him at home because so he's always walking around this sort of stained gray t-shirt and his pajama pants. And my Uncle Murray used to tell me all sorts of stories that were probably inappropriate for my age about his friendship with a famous Hollywood comedy team called Abbott and Costello. Now, some of you younger folks may not know who Abbott and Costello are, but some of you older folks might. So this is a really good time to talk about them because
Rings a bell.
there is a particular movie that is perfect for Halloween called Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. It's got it. I don't Turner Classic Movies. Somebody has to be airing it at some point within the next 48 hours, or maybe it's on YouTube or Hulu already, for all I know, or Daily Motion. It's got to be there. So find it. And when you're watching that movie, you can point to the screen and you can say, "Hey, those two guys used to play poker every Thursday night with the real life Uncle Murray." We wrap it? Okay.
No, we can wrap up now. We can do one last question if anyone has one last question.
This young man right here. I haven't gotten it at all. Go right ahead. Precious.
When are you going to do a book when Bad Kitty was a young little baby?
Oh, when am I going to do a book called When Bad Kitty Was a Young Little Baby Cat? Kind of two responses to that. One, I sort of kind of did that in the beginning of Happy Birthday Bad Kitty, when we sort of go through the photo album of Kitty as a kitten. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't have its own book, because I think that's a pretty terrific idea. There's only one problem. It's not my idea, it's your idea. I think that's a great one. So I'm going to turn that question right around, directly to you, sir. Do you think you can write that story about Bad Kitty as a young, tiny little kitten? You try it? Give it a shot. See, Bad Kitty doesn't belong to just me. Bad Kitty belongs to all of you guys too. So if you have a terrific idea, like he has, in all sincerity, nothing would make me happier than to leave here tonight knowing that you're going to sit down and write those stories yourself. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you for supporting this store. I will be sitting somewhere